really wanted to address the fact that a lot of people don't seem to understand how minor key works, and this I think is a bit of a problem. I wanted to sort of clear up how exactly we deal with minor lines. Okay, so you might not be aware if you've studied primarily rock music, for instance, but there are really 3 separate minor scales in use in classical music, and classical music gave jazz at least some of its vocabulary in terms of melody and harmony. So for instance we have the natural minor, which is 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 6, flat 7, in this case A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and that's the same notes as the C major scale, only starting from the A. If you raise the G sharp up, that gives you the A harmonic minor, and that's a useful scale because it actually gives us the E7 within the scale. That's where it comes from. Then you have this melodic minor, which kind of gets rid of this slightly kind of, you know, as Bill Bailey puts it, a little bit of an Indian ra going on in the middle of the scale, which wasn't really what they liked in sort of 18th century music, so they invented the melodic minor scale with the F sharp and descending differently using the natural minor to kind of even that out and make it more flowing. And actually you can see that use of the melodic minor in Beautiful Love, for instance. So that's all D natural minor, which is the same as F major. Then we get those raised notes, so the B natural, the C sharp, go back to natural minor again. So you can hear how that melodic minor sound can be used to create melodies. And actually, by sort of putting all these notes together and inventing melodies, you know, and start to actually approach some of that older style of jazz line on minor keys, right? So Peter Bernstein makes the point that Kind of Blue, Miles Davis changed the sound of the minor chord. Okay, why is this important? Well, first of all, I mean, anybody who plays gypsy jazz will know that you can't just play minor 7th chords, okay? You have to play minor 6th, and the reason why I play minor 6th is because it has more of that true minor sound going on. If I play a minor 7th, it kind of sounds floating and sort of modal, right? So I would make that sort of separation between the old school jazz minor, and of course the jazz minor scale is also sometimes called a melodic minor, and the newer sound which is more modal and sits more in the flat 7. Now the difference is not necessarily the notes we use. For instance, in Django's Douce Ambiance we go, that's A flat Dorian, right? So those notes are the same as what Miles Davis would use, you know, in different key obviously on So What. But he doesn't sit on the flat 7. Notice he goes up to the flat 7 but uses that as a tension note going down to the 6th. So he's outlining the minor 6th chord there, and that's what we tend to see from those earlier players, you know, Charlie Christian, you know, and the harmonic minor, especially like that sort of diminished 7th scale in the harmonic minor, for instance, in that case I was using C sharp diminished going into D minor, that can create motion. So if you listen to something like Tickle Toe by Lester Young, that's literally as fast as I can play it. That is, you know, sort of weaving in and out of the minor triad using, in this case it's B flat minor, using an A diminished chord to do that. So this is something which you get a lot in the older jazz lines, and that's right up until the bebop era. The basic scale of the Barry Harris system is the minor 6th diminished scale, which is combines, you know, the natural 6th with that diminished chord from the harmonic minor. So you get an 8-note scale in effect, which goes, you know, 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, 6, and then natural 6th and a 7th and a 1. So I'll say that again. 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 6th, and natural 6th, 7, 1. So it's like a combination between the melodic minor, the jazz minor, if you will, and the harmonic minor. Okay? And that's his basic minor scale. Has that very kind of dark and rich sound. It's beautiful. And this old school kind of minor sound, which by the way you can also add in the Dorian mode. So a very common line cliche we get in jazz is this kind of thing, where we go, for instance, I descend a D minor scale, and we walk down one, so that's 1, D, C sharp, C, B, down to that minor 6th. And we have a flat 7 in there, but it's a passing tone. It's just going from one point to the other, right? And these scales and these ideas that lean heavily on, for instance, the 6th, and then when we get into Billy Strayhorn, maybe the 7th. So this is from Chelsea Bridge. This is a mixed scale again. We have this B flat Dorian and the natural 7th. Then we get lean on the natural 7th instead of the flat 7th. Flat 7, natural 7, and then that. And that's a sound we often get in bebop lines as well, that 7th, that natural 7th. Or, the natural 7th in minor is kind of a common sound. If you listen to the opening bars of Solar by Miles Davis, you'll hear that C minor major 7th. So this kind of weight thing, what notes do you throw your weight onto, worry notes as Charlie Christian called them, will affect what voicings you choose. So you're more likely to choose like C minor and C minor major 7th and C minor 9 major 7th, and of course C minor 6th, C 6 9. You're much more likely to choose those sounds as being a true minor sound than C minor 7th or C minor 9th. And hopefully you can hear how those chords are much less mysterious sounding. They kind of have a floating, chilled out quality to them in contrast. So just to demonstrate, if I start playing that C minor sound and I lean on the 7th, or instantly sounds more modern, right? We're suddenly in the realm of like John Coltrane and sort of Wayne Shorter and maybe a little bit sort of Wes Montgomery. So and that's the sound of the 60s, right? Really, after Miles Davis came along and changed the sound, as Pete Bernstein puts it. You'll find those minor 7th sounds used as minor sounds in all styles of music, ranging from obviously jazz, but also to rock, soul, singer-songwriter stuff. It became a very common sound. So it's good to know the difference. Now, I think the reason why this is important is because I think when people get into the melodic minor side of it, they get a little bit, they think the melodic minor is something exotic and something strange. But the truth is, in a sense, it's always existed in jazz. And you only need to listen to Charlie Christian or somebody, or Django, to hear that. These sort of minor 6th sounds have always been played in the music right from the very start, as far as I can tell. And their application on dominant chords, for instance, playing a D minor 6th or a D minor major 7th sound on a G7 is really not unusual. I mean, for instance, very which is like a line from Dizzy Gillespie. We can hear that he's using that mixed minor sound. And he's using the flat 7 there as sort of passing tone. And it's actually going to sort of G7 there. So that's kind of a 2-5 line, but you can hear how rich that minor sound is and how many chromatic notes are in it, because he's doing that kind of classic walk down from the 1 to the 6th of the chord, that you also find in tunes like Blue Skies. Or for that matter, Stairway to Heaven. But you weren't expecting that to come up. So that sort of use of the different scales together, the natural 6th, the flat 6th, the natural 7th, the flat 7th, is very common to melodies that are minor key. And you'll find that not only in jazz, but in all styles of music. The Beatles and stuff like that as well. Okay, and obviously Zeppelin. So that is really kind of something I can't emphasize enough. And I don't think the modern jazz textbooks always kind of give that enough emphasis. The other thing is these scales allow you to play through a minor 2-5-1. So if I'm playing the harmonic minor, and then move to that major sixth at the end, I've actually created I've actually created a minor sixth line without ever having to play more than one scale. All I've done is kind of stay within that kind of nice minor tonality, and it's really no problem. And you can do any of the melodic minor substitutions you normally would. So, playing, for instance, D melodic minor on G7, or A flat melodic minor on G7 altered, or, for instance, D melodic minor on a B minor 7 flat 5 chord, as I've shown in another video. You can do any of them. But it's like understanding how minor melodies work. And one of the best ways to do that is just very simply just to learn lots and lots of minor lines off records, and not just in solos, and songs as well, and get a good feeling for that, okay? Because that minor sound is not really just a theoretical construct. It's all about melodies, okay? Anyway, I hope that's interesting to you. I found this quite a difficult one to make absolutely clear, even though it's something that's very fundamental to music, the minor key. But let me know if you have any questions below. Thanks very much for watching. Bye.